I want to have a very realistic conversation about this comment. I showed a video from Pete Buttigieg talking about how we can't just assume Democrats get back into power and then they fix everything, they put everything back the way it was. We can't have everything go back the way it was. We need a constitutional amendment to rein in the powers of the president. And I don't disagree with him about a constitutional amendment. But in my video, I said that's the wrong path. And it's the wrong path because getting a constitutional amendment passed and ratified is next to impossible. The best path to try and rein in the presidency is through the legislative process, through Congress. In order to get a constitutional amendment passed, I went on to discuss, you need to have 2/3 of the Senate pass it, 2/3 of the House pass it, have it signed by the president, and then ratified by 38 states. And even if you got 2/3 of the House to agree to it, 2/3 of the Senate to agree to it, and the Democratic president, I'm assuming it would have to be a Democratic president because Republicans aren't into this anymore, signed it, you're never going to find 38 states to ratify it. So I was breaking that down in the video. And this commenter said, I think those requirements need to change as well. That's part of what needs to change. But therein lies the problem. Those requirements on what it takes to get a constitutional amendment passed and ratified are in the Constitution. So you would need a constitutional amendment to change those requirements within the Constitution. In order to change the requirements that you believe are too steep or bullshit, 2/3 of the Senate, 2/3 of the House, and 38 states, you would need a constitutional amendment. You would need to get 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, and 38 states to ratify it, which puts you right back into the same position. An impossible task. And people will say, well, it's not an impossible task. There have been amendments added to the Constitution before. Yes, there have been. You are never, in today's day and age, maybe 20 years from now, maybe 30 years from now, you could do this, but in today's day and age, with the division we have in this country, and the fact that one of the two major political parties is ruled by this political cult, you are never going to get 38 states to change the requirements to get a constitutional amendment passed so that you could change the Constitution to rein in the president. The red states will never go for it. And the reason why the red states will never go for it is because our system, as antiquated as it is, was set up to protect the minority. It was set up so that these, what we now know as very low population red states, would have more of a say than they should normally have. And in order for them to agree to a constitutional amendment changing how you change the Constitution, they would have to willingly give up their power. They would say, you know what? They would have to say, you know what? We don't need all 38 of us to agree, 38 red states to agree to it. So we're just going to lower that down to whatever that is, 20 states, 25 states. Call it half. Call it half plus one, 26 states. You're never going to get them to agree to that. And therein lies the problem. I'm not disagreeing with you that things within the Constitution need to change. I'm just pointing out that is next to impossible to get done. So instead of wasting time, energy, and resources on trying to get a constitutional amendment passed to rein in the powers of the president, what we need to do is two different things. We need to focus on voting for the members of Congress that will actually want to put forth a legislative agenda that helps rein in the powers of the president. And then we need to work within the legislative process. All of that's going to get challenged at some point in time in the court systems, but trying to come up with a constitutional amendment to do it you're going to be decades down the road, and it's still not going to happen. It is a waste of time and money and effort right now. We need to focus on the legislature, and we need to focus on making sure that we have a president and a Senate in place that is going to appoint and confirm lifetime federal judges that aren't cult members.